The HFY war fleet hung in the darkness between stars, their ships gleaming like silver daggers against the black. Commander Thelvan stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the scanner displays with satisfaction. After 3 months of following primitive radio signals, they had finally found the source. A small blue planet orbited a yellow star, the third planet from its sun, unremarkable in every way except one. It was making noise, lots of noise. Radio waves, television broadcasts, satellite signals. All the signs of a young civilization that had just learned to shout into the void. Perfect prey. Thelvan had done this 17 times before. Find a primitive world, send the standard message, wait for the panic. Sometimes they surrendered immediately. Sometimes they tried to fight with their pathetic weapons. Either way, the HFY dominion grew larger, and Thelvan's career grew brighter. Send the civilized hail, he ordered. The communications officer nodded. Across every frequency the humans used, the message broadcast. It was translated into their major languages by the ship's computers. The message was simple and had worked for 3,000 years. Greetings, primitive species. You have been noticed by the HFY dominion. We are your superiors in all ways. We offer you a choice. Accept vassalage and join our empire as a subject species, or resist and be conquered. You have 1 planetary rotation to respond. Choose wisely. Thelvan smiled. He imagined the chaos below. Leaders scrambling. Populations panicking. The realization that they were not alone, and that their neighbors were not friendly. He waited for the usual responses. Desperate pleas for mercy. Angry defiance from leaders too proud to accept reality. Offers of resources or technology in exchange for independence. Instead, nothing. The planet went completely silent. Thelvan frowned. Every broadcast stopped. Every satellite transmission ceased. Even the background chatter of their primitive internet disappeared. It was as if someone had turned off a switch. Analysis, he demanded. The science officer checked his instruments. Commander, their power grids are still functioning. Their cities still have light. But all communication has stopped. Complete radio silence. Well, this was new. In 17 previous contacts, Thelvan had never seen this response. Fear usually made species louder, not quieter. Perhaps they're too primitive to understand, suggested the tactical officer. Maybe they don't have a unified response system. Thelvan nodded slowly. That made sense. The scans showed the planet was divided into hundreds of political entities. Nation-states. They called them. Probably they were arguing among themselves about what to do. That would take time. He could wait. 1 day passed. Silence. 2 days passed. Still nothing. Thelvan began to feel uneasy. This wasn't normal behavior. Even divided species usually managed some kind of response. But Earth remained silent, as a grave. On the 3rd day, exactly 47 hours after the civilized hail, a response finally came. It was a simple text transmission on a narrow frequency. No panic, no pleading, just coordinates and a single sentence. The Supreme Council will meet with HFY representatives at these coordinates. Come alone, come armed, come however you wish. We'll be waiting. Thelvan stared at the message. Supreme Council? He'd never heard of such a thing in the intelligence reports. The humans had no unified government. No central authority. That was what made them such easy targets. He checked the coordinates. They weren't on the planet. They were in orbit. High orbit. Beyond their primitive satellite networks. Scan those coordinates, he ordered. The science officer worked for several minutes, his expression growing more confused. Commander, there's nothing there. No heat signature, no metal, no electromagnetic emissions, empty space. But the coordinates were too precise to be random. Someone wanted them to go there. It could be a trap, But what trap could a primitive species set for a Croventhi battle fleet? Thelvan made his decision. Prepare a delegation ship. Full security detail. We'll see what this Supreme Council wants to say before we crush them. The delegation ship launched 12 hours later. It was a small craft, lightly armed but heavily shielded. 6 warriors accompanied Thelvan, along with a communications specialist and a cultural analyst. As they approached the coordinates, the pilot suddenly jerked in his seat. On the view screen, a structure materialized as if stepping out of invisibility. It was a space station, massive and cylindrical, rotating slowly. The design was crude compared to Croventhi architecture, but functional. And it definitely hadn't been there a moment ago. How did we miss that? Thelvan demanded. The pilot's hands shook on the controls. I don't know, Commander. It wasn't there. I'm certain it wasn't there, but it was there now. And a docking port was opening, inviting them inside. Thelvan felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Uncertainty. This was wrong. All of it was wrong. The silence, the hidden station, the calm invitation. Primitive species didn't act like this, but he'd come this far. Retreating now would look like fear. And the Croventhi did not know fear. Dock, he ordered. Weapons ready. The ship slid into the docking port with a soft clang. The airlock cycled. The door opened. Beyond it stood a human. Just one. An older male, wearing a simple military uniform. He was unarmed. His hands clasped behind his back. He smiled politely. Welcome, the human said in perfect Croventhi language. The Supreme Council is waiting. Please, follow me. Thelvan and his warriors exchanged glances. This human spoke their language flawlessly. That should have been impossible. They'd only sent the message 3 days ago. How long had these humans been listening? The human turned and walked deeper into the station, apparently unconcerned that 7 armed Croventhi warriors were behind him. Thelvan followed, his hand on his weapon, wondering what waited ahead. He was about to find out that Earth's silence hadn't been confusion or fear. It had been preparation. The human led them through corridors that hummed with power. Thelvan noticed everything. The walls were thick, reinforced. The lighting was harsh and functional, not decorative. This wasn't a diplomatic station. It was something else. Something military. They passed windows that looked out into space. And Thelvan caught glimpses of the planet below. Earth. So small. So blue. So seemingly helpless. But appearances could deceive. The human stopped at a large door. Please leave your weapons here. You won't need them. Thelvan laughed. We are Croventhi warriors. We don't surrender our weapons to anyone. The human's expression didn't change. Very well. Keep them. They won't help you anyway. The door opened. The room beyond was circular, with a long table in the center. Seated around it were 12 humans, all wearing military uniforms from different nations. Thelvan's cultural database identified them. Chinese, American, Russian, British, Indian, Nigerian, Brazilian, Israeli, Korean, French, German, South African. Nations that his intelligence reports said were rivals, enemies even. Yet here they sat, together, calm and unified. At the head of the table sat an older human with dark skin and gray hair. He wore an Indian military uniform with more medals than seemed reasonable. He gestured to empty chairs. Please, sit. I am General Rajesh Kumar. This is the Supreme Council. We speak for Earth. Thelvan remained standing. Earth has no unified government. Our intelligence is very clear on this. Kumar smiled slightly. Your intelligence is correct. We don't have a unified government. We have something better. We have a unified threat response. When you sent your message, you threatened all of us, so all of us answered. A woman in an American uniform leaned forward. Admiral Sarah Chen, according to Thelvan's database. You wanted to speak to whoever was in charge. Well, we're in charge. For now. Until you leave. Thelvan felt his anger rising. These primitives were speaking to him as equals, as if they had any power at all. You understand the situation incorrectly. The Croventhi Dominion has conquered 200 worlds. Our fleet is superior in every way. Your planet has barely left its own orbit. You have no weapons that can touch us. You have no shields that can stop us. Surrender is your only logical choice. A Russian colonel with cold eyes spoke next. Logic. Yes. Let's discuss logic. You arrived in our system 3 months ago. Did you think we didn't notice? Thelvan felt a chill. 3 months? Impossible. They'd maintained perfect stealth. The colonel continued. We've been tracking your ship since you crossed the heliopause. We let you think you were hidden. We let you scan our planet. We let you think we were primitive and divided. We wanted you to underestimate us. Kumar tapped the table, and a holographic display appeared. It showed the Croventhi fleet. Every ship labeled and categorized. 17 warships. 4 scout vessels. 1 flagship. Crew complement. Approximately 4,000 individuals. Weapons. Plasma cannons, kinetic missiles, electronic warfare suites. Shields. Standard Croventhi gradient field technology. Thelvan stared at the display. Every detail was correct. Every ship identified. How? While you were studying us, Kumar said quietly. We were studying you. You broadcast your presence across hundreds of frequencies. You use quantum communications that you think are secure. You operate under the assumption that primitive species can't possibly understand your technology. Admiral Chen smiled. You know what humans are really good at? Learning. We've been listening to galactic communications for 60 years. Ever since we built our first radio telescopes. We couldn't travel to the stars, so we did the next best thing. We listened. We learned your languages. We decoded your transmissions. We studied your wars, your trade routes, your political structures. A Chinese general spoke, his voice hard. We learned about the Croventhi Dominion, about your civilized Hales, about the 17 species you've conquered, using the same strategy every time. Fear, threats, overwhelming force. It works very well against species who haven't spent their entire history fighting each other. Kumar stood and walked to the window. Commander Thelvan. Do you know how many wars humanity has fought in the last 5,000 years? Take a guess. Thelvan said nothing. Over 14,000 major conflicts, thousands more minor ones. We fought over resources, religion, territory, ideology, pride. And sometimes, just because we were bored, we've developed millions of strategies, tactics, and doctrines. Every human nation at this table has, at some point, been at war with at least 3 others at this table. IR. The general turned back. And yet, when you threatened us, something remarkable happened. We stopped fighting each other. Every grudge, every territorial dispute, every political rivalry became secondary. Because now, we had a common enemy. A Nigerian woman in a cyber warfare uniform spoke. Her voice was soft but sharp. You made a mistake, Commander. You gave us 47 hours. Do you know what we did with that time? She gestured. And another holographic display appeared. This one showed code. Endless streams of code. Flowing like water. We infiltrated your systems. Every single one. Your quantum network isn't as secure as you think. It took us about 6 hours to crack it. The rest of the time, we spent copying every database you have. Fleet movements, supply routes, communication protocols, encryption keys. We know everything about you now. Thelvan's hand went to his weapon. This is a lie. Croventhi security is unbreakable. The woman smiled. Is it? Then explain this. The display changed. It showed the interior of a Croventhi ship. His flagship. The image was live. He could see his own crew working at their stations, unaware they were being watched. "We're inside your systems right now," the woman said. "We have been for 2 days. We can see everything you see. We can hear everything you hear. And if we wanted to, we could do much more than just watch." Kumar returned to his seat. "Commander Thelvan, we don't want war. War is expensive and wasteful. But we're very, very good at it. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to return to your fleet. You're going to report that Earth is not a primitive species. You're going to recommend that the Croventhi Dominion reconsider its approach." Admiral Chen added, "Or you can choose to fight. But understand this. If you attack us, we won't just defend ourselves. We'll take your fleet. We'll take your communication network. We'll take everything you have, and we'll do it without firing a single shot. Because we don't need weapons that are better than yours. We just need to be smarter." Thelvan looked around the table. 12 faces. 12 nations. 12 former enemies now unified in purpose. He'd been a warrior for 40 years, and he recognized strength when he saw it. This wasn't the strength of weapons or shields. It was something else. Something more dangerous. "You're bluffing," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Kumar shook his head sadly. "We're really not. And you're about to find out why." Thelvan returned to his flagship, angry and confused. The meeting had not gone as expected. These humans spoke with confidence that seemed impossible for a species so primitive. They made claims that should have been absurd. Yet something in their eyes had disturbed him. They weren't afraid. They should have been terrified. Every other species had been terrified. "Status report," he demanded, as he entered the bridge. The tactical officer looked up. "All normal, Commander. The fleet remains in position. No hostile activity from the planet." Thelvan nodded. Perhaps the humans had been bluffing after all. Bold words meant nothing without the power to back them up. He would show them real power. "Prepare the fleet for orbital positioning. We'll move into attack formation above their largest cities. Let them see what they're facing. Then, they'll understand fear." With Amon Redder, the orders went out across the fleet. 17 warships began to move, their engines glowing as they accelerated toward Earth. It was a standard intimidation maneuver. Show overwhelming force. Make resistance seem hopeless. The fleet had covered half the distance when something went wrong. "Commander!" The tactical officer's voice cracked with panic. "The engines are shutting down." "Whine." "What?" "Override them." "I'm trying. The system isn't responding." Around the bridge, officers shouted reports. Navigation was offline. Weapons were offline. Even basic maneuvering thrusters had stopped responding. The flagship was coasting on momentum alone, unable to accelerate or turn. "Restore control. Now." The tactical officer hammered at his console. "Sir, I've been locked out. Someone else has control. Someone outside the ship." Thelvan felt ice in his blood. "The other ships. What's their status?" The communications officer checked his board, his face going pale. "All 17 warships report the same problem, Commander. Complete system failure across the entire fleet. Life support is still functioning, but everything else is frozen." The view screen suddenly changed without anyone touching the controls. Instead of showing space, it displayed the face of General Kumar from Earth. "Good afternoon, Commander Thelvan," the human said calmly. "What have you done?" Thelvan roared. "This is an act of war." "No," Kumar corrected. "This is a demonstration. You wanted to show us your power. We thought it was fair to show you ours. Your fleet is currently frozen in place. Every system except life support is under our control. Your crews are safe. Your ships are undamaged. But you can't move. You can't fight. And you can't leave." Another human appeared on the screen. The Nigerian cyber warfare specialist. "Your quantum communication network is actually quite elegant. The encryption was strong, but it had one weakness. You assumed no one could crack it, so you didn't include any secondary authentication protocols. Once we were inside, we became you. Your own ships can't tell the difference between your commands and ours. Admiral Chen joined the display. We're not going to harm you, Commander, but we need you to understand something. We meant what we said. We've been preparing for this moment since we first detected alien signals. Every space agency, every military, every intelligence service on our planet has been working toward one goal: making sure that when we met someone from the stars, we wouldn't be helpless. Kumar leaned forward. You have 72 hours. That's 3 of your days. During that time, you'll remain exactly where you are. We suggest you use this time to contact your high command. Tell them about Earth. Tell them what happened. Tell them that we're not interested in being conquered. After 72 hours, we'll return control of your ships. You can leave peacefully, and we'll forget this happened. Or, you can choose to escalate. But understand, right now, we're only in your fleet's systems. If you force us to, we'll show you how deep into your entire civilization we've already gone. The screen went dark. Thelvan stood frozen, just like his ship. Around him, the crew worked frantically to regain control, but nothing worked. Every system refused to obey. It was as if the ship itself had turned against them. The communication console chirped. Incoming messages from other ships, all reporting the same problem, all asking for orders that Thelvan couldn't give. He slumped into his command chair. 40 years of military service, 17 successful conquests, and now, defeated without a single shot fired, captured without a battle, humiliated by a species that couldn't even travel between stars. Sir, the communications officer said quietly, we're receiving a transmission from Croventhi High Command. They're demanding a status report. Thelvan closed his eyes. How could he explain this? How could he tell them that humans had done the impossible? Connect me to High Command, he said finally. The face of Supreme Admiral Korthek appeared on the screen. The Admiral was old, decorated, and not known for his patience. Commander Thelvan, explain why your fleet has gone silent for the last hour. Sir, we've encountered an unexpected situation. The humans have somehow gained control of our fleet systems. We're currently immobilized. There was a long silence. Then Korthek leaned forward. Say that again, slowly. The humans infiltrated our quantum network, sir. They have complete control of our ships. They claim they've been inside our systems for days. That's impossible. Their technology level is centuries behind ours. They don't have the capability. The 141. They see neighbor detections processing. Nevertheless, sir, it's happened. We're currently frozen in space. They've given us 72 hours to withdraw our claim on their planet. Another voice joined the channel. The Chief Intelligence Officer for the entire Croventhi Dominion. Commander, this is Director Velthar. The humans are making claims about infiltrating our systems. Can you confirm any evidence of this? They showed me live footage of my own bridge, Director, from cameras that don't exist. They're watching us right now. They know everything we're doing. Velthar was quiet for a moment. The channel went silent. Minutes passed. Then hours. The crew sat at their useless stations, waiting. Some tried to manually override the systems, but every attempt failed. The ship's computers simply refused to acknowledge their authority. After 3 hours, the channel reopened. Director Velthar looked shaken. Commander Thelvan, we've confirmed the breach. The humans are inside our network, not just your fleet, our entire communication infrastructure. They've had access for an estimated 40 to 60 days. Maybe longer. We're seeing their code everywhere we look. Supreme Admiral Korthek's expression was grim. They've been watching us, learning about us, waiting for us to make contact. Commander, you've encountered something we've never faced before, a species that weaponized patience and information instead of building warships. What are your orders, sir? Thelvan asked. The Admiral looked old suddenly. Tired. We're calling an emergency session of the High Command. In the meantime, do exactly what the humans say. Don't provoke them. If they can do this to our fleet, they might be able to do worse to our homeworld. The channel closed. Thelvan sat in his frozen ship, commander of a fleet that no longer obeyed him, and wondered how everything had gone so wrong, so quickly. Outside the viewports, Earth rotated peacefully below, blue and beautiful, and far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within days, every major civilization knew that something unprecedented had happened. The Croventhi Dominion, proud conquerors of 200 worlds, had been stopped by a species that barely had a presence in space. The Hive Collective was the first to send observers. They were an ancient species, millions of years old, who had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. Their probe ships approached Earth's solar system cautiously, broadcasting peaceful intentions on every frequency. General Kumar met their representatives on the same orbital station. The Hive sent 3 drones, each one a node of their greater consciousness. They looked like floating crystals, pulsing with soft light. We come to understand, the drones said in unison. The Croventhi report claims that seem impossible, a pre-interstellar species defeating a star-faring empire. We must witness this truth ourselves. Kumar nodded politely. You're welcome to observe. We have nothing to hide. But we do ask that you respect our space and our sovereignty. The Croventhi fleet remains frozen. This we have confirmed. How is this achieved with primitive technology? End. Admiral Chen smiled. Who said our technology was primitive? We can't build faster than light engines. We don't have energy shields or plasma weapons. But we've had something else for a very long time. Computers. Networks. Information systems. While the galaxy built better ships, we built better code. The Hive drones pulsed thoughtfully. Information warfare. We know of this concept. But to execute it across star systems against military-grade security requires enormous capability. The Nigerian cyber specialist, Commander Adeyemi, stepped forward. It requires patience more than capability. We've been listening to galactic communications for 60 years. We analyzed every transmission we could detect. We found patterns, weaknesses, backdoors that were never closed because nobody thought a primitive species could exploit them. Fascinating, the Hive said. And concerning. If you can infiltrate Croventhi systems, can you infiltrate others? We already have, Kumar said simply. Not all species, not deeply, but enough to know that your security isn't as strong as you think either. We've been watching the galaxy watching us. The Hive drones were silent for a long moment. Then they spoke again. Their tone different, more respectful. Humanity is more dangerous than it appears. This is noted. The Hive Collective will recommend that Earth be granted provisional membership in the galactic community as equals, not subjects. Within weeks, other species followed. The Xanthir Confederacy sent diplomats. The ancient Prael sent philosophers. The merchant guilds sent traders. Everyone wanted to understand how the impossible had happened. Each time, the Supreme Council told the same story. Humanity had no special weapons, no exotic technology, just centuries of experience turning disadvantages into advantages. They'd learned to fight without resources, to win without superior force, to survive against impossible odds, and most importantly, they'd learned to cooperate when it mattered most. Commander Thelvan watched all of this from his frozen flagship. The 72 hours had passed. True to their word, the humans had returned control of his ships. But the damage was done. The Croventhi Dominion's reputation as unstoppable conquerors had shattered. Worse, other species were asking questions. If the humans could infiltrate Croventhi systems, What about ours? The paranoia spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every civilization began checking their own networks, looking for signs of human intrusion. Most found something. Not deep infiltration, but evidence that humans had been there. Watching. Learning. Leaving behind the digital equivalent of footprints, just to prove they could. The galactic community had to face an uncomfortable truth. There was a species on Earth that had been studying them for decades, and they'd never noticed. A species that had weaponized information so effectively that they could defeat military fleets without firing a shot. The Croventhi High Command called Thelvan home for debriefing. He stood before the Supreme Admiral and the entire War Council, expecting punishment for his failure. Instead, Supreme Admiral Kordek asked a simple question. If we went to war with Earth tomorrow, could we win? Thelvan thought carefully. Militarily? Yes. Our weapons are superior. Our ships are faster. If we brought our full fleet to bear, we could eventually overcome their defenses. But, the Admiral prompted, but before we destroyed them, they would destroy us. They're inside our networks. They have access to everything. Our supply routes, our communication systems, our civilian infrastructure. If they wanted to, they could cripple our entire civilization without Earth ever being touched. One of the War Council members spoke up. Then, we purge our networks, rebuild from scratch, remove their access. Director Velthar shook his head. We've tried. Their code is everywhere. It's woven into our systems at such a fundamental level that removing it would mean shutting down everything for months, possibly years. And even then, we can't be sure we got it all. They're better at this than we are. Much better. So what do we do? Another council member asked. Supreme Admiral Korthek stood. We do something we haven't done in 3,000 years. We negotiate a real peace. Not a vassalage, not a conquest. A treaty between equals. The room erupted in protests. The Croventhi did not negotiate with primitives. They did not accept equals. They were the conquerors, the dominators, the supreme power in this sector of space. Korthek waited for the noise to die down. Pride doesn't matter when you've already lost. The humans defeated us. They did it without killing a single Croventhi. They showed mercy when they could have shown cruelty. And they proved something we refuse to believe. That technology alone doesn't determine power. He looked around the room. We have a choice. We can accept that Earth is not a primitive world to be conquered, but a formidable power to be respected. Or we can go to war and watch our civilization collapse while we fight an enemy who's already inside our walls. The vote, when it came, was close. But pragmatism won over pride. 3 weeks later, the first galactic summit including Earth was held on neutral territory. The Supreme Council attended, representing humanity. Every major power in the galaxy sent delegates. General Kumar opened Earth's statement simply. We don't want to rule anyone. We don't want to conquer anyone. We've spent too much of our history conquering each other to have any interest in expanding that habit to the stars. But we will not be ruled either. We will not be threatened. We will not be treated as primitive simply because we haven't built starships yet. What we offer is this: trade, exchange of knowledge, peaceful coexistence. What we promise is this: leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone. Threaten us, and you'll learn what we're truly capable of. The Prael ambassador, ancient and wise, spoke up. Humanity has taught the galaxy a valuable lesson. Power takes many forms. We've spent millennia measuring it in ships and weapons. You've shown us that information, patience, and unity can be just as powerful. The summit lasted 3 days. In the end, a new treaty was signed. Earth was granted full membership in the galactic community, not as subjects, not as vassals, as equals. The Croventhi Dominion signed too, though it hurt their pride. 6 months after first contact, The galaxy had changed in ways no one had predicted. The great powers still existed, but they moved more carefully now. Every transmission was encrypted better. Every network was checked more thoroughly. Everyone remembered that somewhere on a small blue planet, humans were watching. On Earth, the Supreme Council held its final meeting. General Kumar looked around the table at the same faces that had confronted the Kroventhi. The Chinese general, the American admiral, the Russian colonel, the Nigerian cyber specialist, all the others. They'd come together in Earth's darkest hour and saved their world without firing a shot. Now it was time to let go. The emergency is over, Kumar said quietly. We've achieved what we set out to do. Earth is safe. We're recognized as equals. The galaxy knows not to threaten us. Our purpose is complete. Admiral Chen nodded. So, we dissolve the council and return to our normal rivalry? Not rivalry, the Russian colonel corrected. Competition. There's a difference. We're still different nations with different interests. But we've proven we can work together when it matters, Commander Adeyemi smiled. And we've left a few surprises in place. Just in case. The network intrusions? The British representative asked. Most of them are being removed, as promised. But not all. We've kept eyes on the major powers. Quiet observation only. If anyone decides to threaten Earth again, we'll know about it long before they arrive. The French general frowned. Is that wise? When they discover we're still watching, they won't, Adeyemi said confidently. What we've left behind is passive. Read only. It doesn't interfere with anything, and it's hidden far better than our initial infiltration. We learned a lot in the last 6 months about how to stay invisible. Kumar stood and walked to the window. Earth turned below. Blue and green and beautiful. Somewhere down there, billions of people were going about their lives, most of them unaware of how close they'd come to conquest. We should tell them, the South African representative said. The people. They deserve to know what happened. What we did. Eventually. Kumar agreed. But not yet. Right now, let them enjoy peace. Let them think we're still just arguing about borders and trade agreements. Let the galaxy think we've gone back to being divided. Admiral Chen smiled. When actually, we've proven something important. We can stop fighting each other whenever we need to. That's the real secret. Kumar said. Not our technology. Not our cyber warfare capabilities. The secret is that humanity's greatest strength has always been adaptation. We fight each other constantly. But when something threatens all of us, we become unstoppable. The meeting ended with handshakes and quiet farewells. The Supreme Council dissolved as quickly as it had formed. The generals and admirals returned to their nations. The intelligence specialists returned to their agencies. The politicians returned to their arguments. On the surface, Earth returned to normal. Nations competed for resources and influence. Old rivalries continued. New conflicts emerged, but something had changed. Deep in classified facilities, secure communication lines remained open. Every nation that had sat on the Supreme Council maintained a small team, just in case. They called it the Emergency Response Network. A skeleton crew, always watching, always ready, just in case the galaxy forgot the lesson Earth had taught. Commander Thel Van, now retired from military service, wrote a book about his experience. It became required reading at every military academy in the Kroventhi Dominion. The title was simple: The Frozen Fleet. When Confidence Becomes Blindness. In it, he described the moment he realized Earth had won. Not when his ships were frozen. Not when the humans demonstrated their infiltration. But earlier, during that first meeting with the Supreme Council, he'd seen 12 representatives from 12 nations. Nations that had fought each other for centuries, and he'd dismissed them because they were divided. That had been his mistake. They weren't divided. They were diverse. And diversity, combined with unity of purpose, created something far more powerful than uniformity ever could. The book's final chapter was titled, What We Should Fear. In it, Thelvan wrote, "Humanity is not dangerous because of their weapons. They're dangerous because of their minds. They look at problems differently than we do. Where we see obstacles, they see opportunities. Where we see limits, they see challenges to overcome. They've spent their entire history fighting impossible odds and finding ways to win anyway. But most terrifying of all, they've only just realized what they're capable of. Right now, they're still limited to their own solar system. They're still learning what the galaxy has to offer. Imagine what they'll become when they finally build starships. Imagine what they'll achieve when they combine their information warfare capabilities with real interstellar mobility. The galaxy should not fear humanity as they are now. The galaxy should fear what humanity will become." The book was read across the galaxy. It became a bestseller among multiple species. Some read it as a warning. Some read it as a guide to what not to do. And some read it with interest, wondering if they could learn humanity's techniques. Earth, meanwhile, was busy building. The galaxy had offered trade and technology exchange. Humanity accepted eagerly, but carefully. They studied every technology they received, looking for weaknesses they could exploit if needed. They learned the principles behind faster-than-light travel, energy shielding, and advanced materials, but they didn't just copy. They improved. They adapted. They made the technology their own. 20 years after first contact, the first human-built starship launched from Earth orbit. It wasn't the biggest ship in the galaxy. It wasn't the fastest. But it was uniquely human in design. Every system had 3 backups. Every network was isolated and secured. Every computer had manual overrides. The humans had learned from the galaxy's mistake. They built their ships, assuming someone would try to hack them. The ship's name was painted on its hull in dozens of languages. Unity. General Kumar, now elderly but still sharp, attended the launch ceremony. Reporters asked him about Earth's future among the stars. "We're not trying to build an empire," he said. "We've seen what happens when species focus on conquest and domination. They become brittle, inflexible, vulnerable to anyone who thinks differently than they do. What we're building is something else. A civilization that learns from everyone, that adapts to everything, that survives because we're too stubborn to give up and too creative to be beaten." The galaxy sent us a message 6 months after we learned we weren't alone. They said, "Surrender or be conquered." We sent back a different message. "Leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone." Now we're sending a third message with this ship. We're coming to the stars, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as partners, traders, explorers, and friends. And if anyone tries to threaten us again, they'll find out that we've learned even more in the last 20 years. The Unity's engines ignited, and humanity's first starship left Earth behind, heading for distant worlds and unknown adventures. Back on Earth, in a secure facility buried deep underground, the Emergency Response Network monitored its operation. They watched the galactic communication channels. They maintained their hidden observation posts in foreign networks. They stayed ready, just in case. The Supreme Council had dissolved, but its purpose lived on. Earth would never be caught unprepared again. The humans had learned their lesson too. Power wasn't about having the biggest guns. It was about being smart enough that you never had to use them. And humanity, survivors of 10,000 wars, students of conflict and cooperation, were very, very smart. The galaxy had sent a hail to Earth, demanding submission. Earth had struck back with patience, intelligence, and unity. And the galaxy would never forget the moment they froze, realizing that the primitives from that small blue planet were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The age of human exploration had begun, and the galaxy would never be quite the same.